Marshall's a tough environment, though. Marshall's that sneaky road trip, in my opinion, and this has been like a decade long that Marshall's been fire at home and terrible on the road. That's a dangerous road game, but if you look at, there's no return game with Kent State. There's no return game with Akron. Maybe when they go to UMass with Frank Martin being such a good coach, he could really take teams out of their rhythm. But I think there's a case that they could be undefeated in the regular season.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
If there's more revenue for the league, there's more revenue for the players, and that would make it saleable. So they may have objections. Certainly there's more risk of injury the longer the season goes. But, these guys, their careers are short. The money is good. Money would be better. So I wouldn't bet against the league expanding sooner rather than later.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
This is the fear that we had going on. And the players obviously were paid $10,000 to $30,000 per fix. But what this does is it hits at the core of the identity in the sport, especially in the modern day betting era.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
His wife and his kids were like, I kind of like this. This kind of works out for me. Hey, daddy's a celebrity again, so I get access to things. Daddy's making money again. Hadn't made a nickel in the last 5 years. Now he's made a lot of money, so I'm sure they're good.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, the prospect of daddy being away, like he ain't cheating on you in Buffalo, I can tell you that. I live there.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Raid in, people. It is a Monday morning, and it is a frigid, freezing cold Monday morning in the Northeast. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's Joe Ranieri. He doesn't have any of those issues, but today, over the next 2 hours, we have you covered on an unbelievable Sunday in the NFL, AFC, NFC Championship games. A Super Bowl has been announced for 2 weeks, and we'll have those previews and much, much more today. A lot to get underway, a lot of fun, and also a lot of pain in certain cities, Joe.
A lot of pain in a lot of cities, Donnie, including some that you may not realize here, which we'll talk about here coming up in just a minute. But all in all, fantastic weekend, except for that little thing called snow in a lot of parts.
Seattle to the Super Bowl. My goodness, Sam Darnold. All that much more, as we said, coming up on this show here. But we got to get to the hottest topics across the sports landscape. Let's get caffeinated. What's that topic, Joe, to get us started?
Well, Donnie, we need to talk about what happened yesterday. And honestly, I think I'm going to need something stronger than caffeine for this one. Because as I sat there watching the NFC Championship game last night, calling it here on SportsGrid on In-Game Live, I did have, a single tear rolling down my cheek. And not because it was a great game, though it was, but because I'm a New York Jets fan. And I just had to watch Sam Darnold look like prime Joe Montana in a Seahawks uniform. And that is a specific type of torture, Donnie, that only my franchise, the New York Jets, can inflict on its fan base. We drafted him number 3 overall. We had the golden ticket. And what did we do? Well, we gave him Adam Gase, and we gave him an offensive line made of paper mache. Fantastic stuff. We let him get so beat up until the point he was literally seeing ghosts on national television. And then we shipped him off for pennies on a dollar like a distressed asset. But look, I'm used to the Jets being an absolute dumpster fire. That's my cross to bear, and our fan base's cross to bear. The people we really need to be checking on this morning, well, those are Minnesota Vikings fans as well as the ownership group. Because let's look at the timeline here. Just a year ago, Sam Darnold led the Vikings to 14 wins. He was an MVP candidate. He did everything you asked him to do. And what did Minnesota do? Well, they were like, yeah, no, we're good. They let Darnold walk. so they could hand the keys to J.J. McCarthy, who, let's be honest, looks about as ready for the NFL as I am to start for the Miami Heat as a point guard. The result? The Vikings are sitting on the couch and Sam Darnold is booking a flight to the Super Bowl. And yesterday, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks, 6 for 9 on third down. That isn't game managing. That is just domination. He has now posted back-to-back 14-win seasons. Do you know the other quarterback in the NFL to do that? Oh, yeah, his name, Tom Brady. That is the company he is keeping now. So here is the lesson for today, and it applies to all sports betting just as much as it applies to life. Success is not linear. We live in a world of instant gratification, unfortunately, because if a rookie quarterback doesn't throw for 4,000 yards in year 1, we call him a bust. We write him off. But the Seahawks, they saw value. They saw an undervalued asset the market gave up on, and they invested. And now Sam Darnold is the first quarterback from a 2018 loaded draft class to make it to the big game. Not Baker, not Josh Allen, not Lamar, Sam Darnold. He's heading back to California to compete for a world championship. And as a Jet fan, Donnie, it hurts. It hurts to know that we ruined this kid almost altogether. But as a sports fan, I'm rooting for this guy. He got rid of the ghosts. Viking fans, the only thing I can say is enjoy the draft with us Jet fans, because Sam Darnold has the Super Bowl to prepare for. And Donnie, I think I'm going to need a refill of more than just caffeine here today, knowing that.
My goodness, man. Sammy D. The only thing I was questioning yesterday, was he going to be healthy enough? Looked like he was still a little bit out of sorts. Didn't matter. 25 of 36, 346 in the air, 3 touchdown passes, and including trusting him on the final drive, where you don't just run the football out and run the clock. You need to pick up first downs and stay aggressive, which is exactly what Clint Kubiak did yesterday. Great games across the board. We'll get to those in just a little bit. Now we're going to get to the early lineup, the hottest topics across sports, which starts with Mike McCarthy. You got to feel good, Pittsburgh Steelers. He's your new head coach. I don't think one single person on social media or a Steelers fan was like, awesome, got our guy, let's move forward. Seems like more or less we got McCarthy because he might be happy with Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers is ancient. Now he's maybe going to come back. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.
Well, I mean, that's apparently he's from Pittsburgh, Donnie. So I know a lot of dudes from Pittsburgh that might have fit that description, if that's really the only requirement needed. But okay, I mean, try new things, I guess, Pittsburgh. Forget about the young coordinator that is going to spend 20 years there. We're going to go with a 62-year-old Mike McCarthy and hope a 43-year-old quarterback follows him. All right, things going well in Pittsburgh.
Hafley moves out of Green Bay as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Therefore, they need a new DC, and they found their DC. Jonathan Gannon, former head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, former defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, finds a home in the Bay.
And I think even you'll admit that's probably a really good signing for Green Bay. That's a lot of weapons. That's a good defense. And he, despite his recent Arizona Cardinals showing, was a really good DC, Donnie. So I think that's a win for Green Bay.
How about Sean McDermott, likely to take a year off here from this coaching surf? Either that means he doesn't think he's going to get a coaching job, or, man, I don't want to go to like the Raiders or the Cardinals.
No, or the Browns or anywhere else. Yeah, no, he don't want anything to do with that. I don't blame him. Take a year off. He can go back and work tomorrow if he wants as a DC, as a head coach. It will not be the last of Sean McDermott.
Podcasts. That's why we do this, right? Well, Matthew Stafford, just a few short days ago, was like, yeah, man, can't wait to come back regardless of this game. Now, after the game, he's sort of mum, which meant his wife probably goes, hey, honey, I have a podcast. We could sell some ad space in 2 weeks if we talk about if you want to come back or not.
Yeah. Well, I hope he tells Sean McVay, because he almost had a coronary there when they asked him about Stafford coming back in the post game, and it wasn't good. So let's hope that he at least shares that before he shares it on the podcast with him.
How about Zion Williamson? Shoe is no-go here for Jordan Brand and Nike, because sometimes you have to play at least a little bit to sell shoes and get people excited, right?
Yeah, well, he's had an interesting career with shoes, hasn't he? Wasn't it his shoe that almost took him out at Duke?
Yes.
Wasn't
Correct.
really a good situation there before. And really, that just rolled right into the NBA. Hasn't been a good one there. I don't think I know anybody that's ever bought a Zion sneaker. You, Donnie?
No, I don't even know what they look like, could care less what they look like. And of course, it was obviously was not a good investment for the Jordan brand and Nike, as he's not going to continue that shoe brand with them. Repeat if you've heard this before. We were on Friday. Hey, look, Scheffler's in the mix. I wonder what that means. That means Scheffler won another tournament. His 20th wins by 4 strokes. Why don't we just say, Joe, at the beginning of the tournament, if Scottie Scheffler's not in first place, immediately bet him to win that tournament because it doesn't matter. He will hunt you down. Another dub for Scottie.
I mean, he now joins Tiger and Jack as the only guys to have 20 PGA Tour victories, 4 major championships, and hasn't turned 30 yet. It's ridiculous what we're seeing from him.
And imagine if he actually liked his job as well, how much better he would actually be. Huh? Well, there it is. Scottie Scheffler winning the tournament. Well, how many tournaments are so far on the PGA this year? 1. Who won it? Scottie. That makes sense here as we keep moving on. Patrick Reed, still at odds with Liv Golf. By the way, Captain America over here, Patrick Reed. Why does it feel like he's with odds with every single person in his life, including his tour?
Yeah, but the problem is he's always been at odds with the PGA, and nobody likes him on the PGA Tour. So I'd be careful throwing Liv under the bus. Might be the only place that you have to play next year.
Absolutely incredible. Look at that. Couple golf scenes here, setting the page here for what's going to happen in the Super Bowl 2 weeks away, focusing on college basketball, the NBA, and all the information that you need to know. It's a 2-hour show on a Monday. Armchair quarterback. We got Spreadlines coming up, and then let's find out what happened in AFC and NFC Championship games this past weekend. We'll be right back.
Marshall's a tough environment, though. Marshall's that sneaky road trip, in my opinion, and this has been like a decade long that Marshall's been fire at home and terrible on the road. That's a dangerous road game, but if you look at, there's no return game with Kent State. There's no return game with Akron. Maybe when they go to UMass with Frank Martin being such a good coach, he could really take teams out of their rhythm. But I think there's a case that they could be undefeated in the regular season.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
If there's more revenue for the league, there's more revenue for the players, and that would make it saleable. So they may have objections. Certainly there's more risk of injury the longer the season goes. But these guys, their careers are short. The money is good. Money would be better. So I wouldn't bet against the league expanding sooner rather than later.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
This is the fear that we had going on. And the players obviously were paid $10,000 to $30,000 per fix. But what this does is it hits at the core of the identity in the sport, especially in the modern day betting era.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
His wife and his kids were like, I kind of like this. This kind of works out for me. Daddy's a celebrity again, so I get access to things. Daddy's making money again. Hadn't made a nickel in the last 5 years. Now he's made a lot of money, so I'm sure they're good. Yeah. But all of a sudden, the prospect of Daddy being away, like he ain't cheating on you in Buffalo, I can tell you that. I live there.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Spreadlines on a Monday right here on the early line. Donnie writes out along with Joe Ranieri here, getting you caught up on all the latest stuff and the information you need to know, which includes in 2 weeks from now, we will have Super Bowl Sunday on February 8th. The two teams are set up. The champions of the NFC, the Seattle Seahawks, the champions of the AFC, the New England Patriots. That line opened up yesterday, Joe, -4.5 with a total of 46.5. Not a lot of movement here. We do see a 5 popped up at BetMGM, but primarily 4.5s across the board. Your spread line early for Super Bowl Sunday, Joe, is what?
Well, I mean, Donnie, we watched it last night. As soon as that game was over, we knew the look ahead was 3.5, no matter if the Rams won or if the Seahawks won. The difference was going to be in the total because the Rams had a look ahead line of 50.5 and Seattle was hovering around 46.5. And it didn't take long after Seattle won that game to start seeing that money overnight come in on them. And like you said, from 3.5 now to 4.5, some fives are popping up across the board. The total, ironically enough, Donnie, is starting to come down in some spots. We're seeing 45.5, even 46, which is kind of interesting because to me, that was the first thing that I went to was thinking, after just watching that Seattle defense get shredded by Stafford and company, I'm saying, man, this might be too low a number here in this upcoming game in 2 weeks. And let's face it, New England hasn't played a game where Mother Nature hasn't had a big role, it feels like, in a very long time. So we're going to keep an eye on this total. But right now, New England early on not getting a whole lot of love in the marketplace.
Yeah, and it's also one of those where you need it to settle in a little bit. You need to see where the public is coming from because everybody likes to jump the next day. Because what are your thoughts? Would be like, of course Seattle's going to beat New England. But as Joe pointed out yesterday, that's a completely different game if they're playing in 50-degree temperatures, no wind, no snow in that game to see if that offense can actually operate. Because understand this, when you are playing a game with that high of stakes, did you really think New England was just going to throw the football all over the lot knowing a backup quarterback was on the other side? Oh, they only scored 10. Stop the madness here. I can't wait for Super Bowl Sunday coming up in 2 weeks. But college basketball going to take a lot of center stages on this show over the next couple days, which includes Arizona and BYU tonight. A 9 o'clock start from BYU, the favorites. -2.5, -1.5, depending where you're shopping at. Arizona on the road taking on BYU with a total of 165.5. Big-time college basketball on a Monday tonight, Joe. What's that spread line?
Big time. And, it's interesting because it was -2 last night in the look ahead. We did see some early BYU money as Arizona heads to Provo to take on Utah here. But this is, Arizona's first game, even though they're number one in the country, they're undefeated, right? They're only one of 3 teams that remain undefeated. This is really their first test against a top 40 KenPom team in forever, Donnie. They have not really been tested at all and haven't really had to play this level of competition. It's never easy to go on the road. This is a very good home court advantage for BYU, who has likely, one of the top 2 draft picks on its team here in the freshmen. So I think this is going to be a great game. But it wouldn't strike me at all if Arizona continues to be undefeated when it's all said and done. But this will be the biggest test of Arizona's season so far.
Let's go over to the ACC. Louisville is going to take on Duke at Cameron Indoor Stadium, roughly favored by a touchdown, -7.5 across the board, and a total of 157.5 to 156.5, depending on where you're shopping at tonight. Duke, the heavy favorite at home. What's that spread line tonight, Joe?
Monster game here at Cameron Indoor. 7.5 is what we opened with last night. We wake up this morning, 7.5. We are seeing some money to the over. The big story here is that Louisville gets back its number 1 point guard, Mikael Brown Jr. He is now back and healthy with the team. They have missed him, although they've had plenty of success without him so far, sitting at 14-5 on the season. Duke at 18-1. This feels a little disrespectful, but we've always said, Donnie, this was all going to come down to Louisville and Duke in the ACC, right? Well, this is going to be one heck of a test. No excuses for Louisville. They've got their 5-star stud freshman back. This is going to be a bit of a war here. I would be shocked if this line moves towards Duke before tip-off. I think we're about to see some Louisville money hit the board today.
NBA action, 7 o'clock start tonight. The Orlando Magic going to take on the Cleveland Cavaliers. This line opened up around a 4.5-point spread. Now we're seeing 5s and even 5.5s in the marketplace now as a favorite towards Cleveland. The total, 227.5. Magic Cavaliers about on the East. What's that spread line tonight?
Well, this is one of those games, Donnie, there's 2 on the board here today where you're going, didn't I just see this game? Yes, you did. A couple of days ago, Cleveland was in Orlando in a terrible spot, by the way. 3rd game in 4 nights, second of a back-to-back. with travel. They had to go from Sacramento to Orlando. And what did they do? They beat the snot out of the Orlando Magic, who are just, the sky is falling in Orlando right now. No Franz Wagner here tonight either. But it also looks like Donovan Mitchell will not be on the court for the Cavs. So what did the market do? Nothing. They keep betting the Cavs because they know the Magic are a hot mess here tonight. Can they turn it around? Usually it's tough to beat teams in these, go 2-0 with these home-and-home situations. But Orlando, nothing redeeming about what's happening with them right now.
Yeah, some make-up, forced-up games today. You have the Pacers and the Hawks at 1:30 p.m. and the Philadelphia 76ers and the Charlotte Hornets at 3 p.m. But tonight, 9:30 again. If you just saw this game, well, you have to blink twice. You're going to see it again. The Golden State Warriors taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. This line, -7.5 as a favorite towards the Timberwolves at home. 232.5 is the total this one. Warriors, T-Wolves, Joe, what's the spread line here for you?
Well, the Wolves are just a mess. My good, every time they are one of the worst teams against the number. If you think Cleveland is bad, ATS this season, the Minnesota Timberwolves as a favorite are not good. Not to mention they've lost 5 games in a row now after they got embarrassed by Golden State last night. Know who's playing in this game. It's going to be very interesting to see. Does Steph Curry go? He was questionable yesterday, but played. Does he go tonight? Can't trust Minnesota laying this many points, though, in any situation right now.
7-pack today in the NBA, and as we said, some afternoon action as well. But we got to get out to Stiddy City yesterday. Sean Payton had a lead, could have went up by double digits, decided not to. They didn't score again. We'll talk about it next.
Marshall's a tough environment, though. Marshall's that sneaky road trip, in my opinion, and this has been like a decade long that Marshall's been fire at home and terrible on the road. That's a dangerous road game, but if you look at, there's no return game with Kent State. There's no return game with Akron. Maybe when they go to UMass with Frank Martin being such a good coach, he could really take teams out of their rhythm. But I think there's a case that they could be undefeated in the regular season.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
If there's more revenue for the league, there's more revenue for the players, and that would make it saleable. So they may have objections. Certainly there's more risk of injury the longer the season goes. But these guys, their careers are short. The money is good. Money would be better. So I wouldn't bet against the league expanding sooner rather than later.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
This is the fear that we had going on. And the players obviously were paid $10,000 to $30,000 per fix. But what this does is it hits at the core of the identity in the sport, especially in the modern day betting era.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
His wife and his kids were like, I kind of like this. This kind of works out for me. Daddy's a celebrity again, so I get access to things. Daddy's making money again. Hadn't made a nickel in the last 5 years. Now he's made a lot of money, so I'm sure they're good. But all of a sudden, the prospect of Daddy being away, like he ain't cheating on you in Buffalo, I can tell you that. I live there.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Bo Nix was up in the booth watching this game. Why? Because Jarrett Stidham was the starting quarterback, because Bo Nix had broken a bone in his ankle. We were expecting two of the better young quarterbacks in the AFC to go toe-to-toe, but we didn't get that matchup. We did get Drake May, but we got Jarrett Stidham on one side. You saw the first 2 drives of the game. One drive for Denver, one game for New England. Like, I don't even know if they're going to move the football the rest of the way. Now, granted, the game only up with 17 points, but Stidham came to life on a big third down throw deep to Mims. They scored a touchdown on that drive on a Jarrett Stidham touchdown pass. Hey, maybe this is going to work out in their direction. The domination in the first half, or at least let's just say for the first 20 minutes of real time, was in the Denver Broncos' back pocket here. And we're going to start with this right here. Obviously, 10-7 victory. New England's moving on to the Super Bowl. But everybody was talking early in this one. You had Stidham confidence. You had your defense playing well. You were at home with a 7-0 lead with a chance to have a chip shot field goal to take a double-digit lead with a backup quarterback. Sean Payton decided to press the lever down, and they did not score again in that game and ended up losing. Joe, talk to me about momentum and your thoughts on that fourth down play early in the first half.
I just could not believe what I was seeing. Not to mention, we come later to find out in the press conference that he had actually called a running play on that 4th and 1. But when the timeout was called, they decided, yeah, let's turn it into a passing play there, which got blown up immediately. And of course, hindsight is 20/20. But here's another option, Sean. You could have actually kicked the field goal, gone up 2 scores, since you have a backup quarterback who hasn't played or taken a snap here in, 2 years. Would have been really nice to give that defense an opportunity to know they had the freedom there up 2 scores to be able to take it to Drake May in New England. But instead, yeah, you give the ball back, and the rest is history. You never even sniffed it after that again. So I just, sometimes these coaches, they get so wrapped up. It's not like a rare week 6 in the NFL, Donnie. Like, okay, you're playing the Jets, you want to go for it, great. It wasn't Bo Nix, you had Jarrett Stidham in there. Take the points in the postseason and go up 2 scores.
When do we ever get to the point where I understand feel and analytics does make sense, and we love coaches to be aggressive, and it works out. It's fantastic. Hey, they threw the football out into the flat, 3-yard pickup. Boy, that's a great call by Sean Payton, because it would have swung the other way. But sometimes you just have to understand how physics work and how your team concept works. And, yes, okay, if we stop them here, my defense still can, defend 80 yards. I get it. But just the psychological advantage of going up 2 scores, and you have a quarterback that he's already nervous. He had a couple really bad throws in the first half until he got on track. And now you're saying to yourself, just give him the confidence to operate with the lead. And as soon as that happened, what happens? New England goes down the field, punches in a touchdown, and away we go at that point. It's a shame, because if you look at the graphic Cal sheet, at 3:49 p.m. Eastern, Denver had a 65.1 chance to win that football game, the upper hand. And with a matter of moments, it's swinging right back over to the New England Patriots, because they tied that game up, and then you realize all the momentum is gone, a double-digit lead, now it's tied, and you went into the second half, gave up that field goal, 10-7, and they never looked back for New England.
Ever look back. That was it. And it was unfortunate at that point. I mean, obviously the turnover by Stidham, but again, the NFL and the referees, people are guessing as to what the is, why the ruling is. It's kind of ridiculous. But the reality is, had you had gone up 2 scores, and that weather comes rolling in at the half, man, a 10-7 lead reverse would have been a totally different ball game there. And it wasn't meant to be, because, again, you just overthinking the situation with who you had at quarterback. And by the way, how did you not know that weather was rolling in? You live in Denver. You are Denver. How did you not know that there might be a chance for, oh boy, things could go sideways? Let's go. Let's get that lead early, and we'll be good to go in the second half.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the weathercasters, or because some flurries were expected. It's like, yeah, it's Denver. It might be a little bit cooler to get some flurries. But you see that picture, it looked like the worst case scenario possible could have happened to that game. And it did happen here, because both sides did struggle with it. But it became apparent once you got to the fourth quarter, you were probably going to have to score a touchdown. Like, they traded missed field goals, no surprise, because you could barely even see when they were trying to kick the football. Or you have the graphics on the screen just to show us where the 40-yard line, the 30-yard line was at this point here. But you're right. Take the 10-0 lead. Put the onus. Like, if this game would have ended 14-10, like, hey, that's why Denver should have went for a touchdown the first half and not kicked the field goal. You can live with that. You can't live with you lost 10-7 when you should have been up 10-0.
That's correct, Donnie. Exactly. It and the confidence it would have given the team. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable stuff here. We're going to keep it with this game and then transition over to the NFC Championship game next, right here on the Early Line.
You got to get on a bus. Then you got to get to the hotel. All right, you got to check into your room. You got to go through all this crap. It's like, yeah, it's done for you, but it's still not like you're still sitting there. You're still in traffic. Yeah, you're still like it's still 2 a.m. You still want to be in bed, right? You're like, oh my God, I'm on some highway in Calgary right now. It's 3:30 in the morning, and we're playing against the Canucks tomorrow. Right? Like, it's not as smooth as people always think.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
If there's more revenue for the league, there's more revenue for the players, and that would make it saleable. So they may have objections. Certainly there's more risk of injury the longer the season goes. But, these guys, their careers are short. The money is good. Money would be better. So I wouldn't bet against the league expanding sooner rather than later.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
His wife and his kids were like, I kind of like this. This kind of works out for me. Daddy's a celebrity again, so I get access to things. Daddy's making money again. Hadn't made a nickel in the last 5 years. Now he's made a lot of money, so I'm sure they're good.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, the prospect of Daddy being away, like he ain't cheating on you in Buffalo, I can tell you that. I live there.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
In reality, you and I could coach Josh Allen to 11 wins. Like, it's not that monumental of a task, right? I mean, Josh Allen alone gives you 9, if not 10 wins, just because he's on the field. So we're not asking for much here. The real question is can he coach somebody? Can somebody coach them through the playoffs and make critical decisions that open the door for them to get past certain opponents?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
New England Patriots 10-7 over the Denver Broncos. They're the AFC Championship, moving on to the Super Bowl in Santa Clara. But we did have Stidham start that game, 7-0 lead, driving to take a double-digit lead. Let's hear from Sean Payton on how Stidham did yesterday.
You think of how Stidham played today?
Oh, I thought he fought hard in tough conditions. I think we're going to look at the film. I know this. I'm going to look at it and be critical of myself. And I think there were a number of things that we just had to do better. We didn't finish some runs. We dropped some passes again. Felt like that was a problem all year. Early when we had the momentum, we didn't it felt like, let's just say, most first half, and we didn't come away with enough having had that momentum and that field position.
He's right about that, Joe.
Yeah. And by the way, I mean, don't blame Stidham, who hit not only Sutton, but the tight end, Humphries, too, as well. Yes. Right in the hands with balls that would have extended, would have been huge plays in that second half. And, yeah, the conditions were bad. But you know what? They were bad for the quarterback, and he threw it right on the numbers. Hit them both in the hands and both dropped it. So he's right. I mean, nobody helped him either. So that's another big problem with Denver.
Here's Jared Stidham talking about his play from yesterday.
In the second half, how did the swirling wind and the snow when it came in, how did that affect things and what you were able to do?
Yeah, look, I mean, the conditions are what they are. I mean, both teams were playing in it. So I think we only had a handful of plays in the third quarter when we were going into the wind that way. And in the fourth quarter, it was just back and forth and trying to make plays. So like I said, the conditions are what they are. I mean, both teams had to do it. So.
He's right. I mean, look, you had that 7-0 lead. It could have been 10-0. Did you want to score more than 7 points? Yes, you're in it all the way. You had a field goal kick that was blocked in the fourth quarter that could have tied it up and maybe went differently. But everybody's always going to look back to that first half. You take the 10-0 lead, it may be a different trajectory in that game, but they went for it, didn't get it, and away the New England Patriots go, the AFC champions here as they move on to the Super Bowl. But let's take a look on the opposite side in the NFC yesterday, which I guess you could say was the game of the day. Both close games, 31-27. The Seattle Seahawks come away with a victory over the Rams. Both quarterbacks were absolutely spectacular yesterday. But when you needed to get off the field, the Los Angeles Rams could not get off the field against the Seattle Seahawks. Sam Darnold was spectacular. They did just enough. And also, another questionable call inside the red zone, inside the 10 on a 1st and goal that the Rams couldn't punch in a touchdown, didn't take the field goal, never saw the football again, Joe.
No, and you just knew at that
Except
point here, were the Rams going to be able to do something they hadn't done, it felt like, the entire game, which was be able to get a stop. I mean, the 3rd down conversions for Sam Darnold, they averaged, Donnie, Seattle 3rd and 8.5. Every 3rd down was 8.5 yards or more. And what happens? Well, they converted 6 of 11, 7 of 12 of them on their way to winning this game. And that was the difference, is that, they just kept, you could not stop them and get them to punt. And when you did, you end up dropping the punt and giving them an opportunity to be able to score, which they did. So, kudos to Sam Darnold. Again, he single-handedly put that game and that team on his back and won it. The defense certainly did. This vaunted Seattle defense certainly didn't win them this game and a trip to the Super Bowl. It was all Sam Darnold and the offense.
It really was. And sometimes you take a look at how this played out, because it looked like from the jump, Seattle was probably just going to crush the Los Angeles Rams. But they fought their way back, and the Rams actually took a 13-10 lead. One of the pivotal drives in the game, sometimes you look at it and say, all right, second half, Seattle's going to get the football. What are we going to do as the Rams? They force a 3-and-out and get the football back with 1:33 on the clock, up 13-10. You know what they did? 3 plays, 5 yards, 39 seconds, punted it back, busted coverage, 17-13 at the break. It felt like a lot of that momentum for the Rams, where it was a terrible second quarter for Seattle, but yet you saw yourself at the half with the Seattle Seahawks and a lead. But the second half came up. Both of these quarterbacks making great play after great play, no doubt about it. But for me, I just draw the line. Joe is right. When you're converting 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4s, sometimes it's great play calling, scheming guys open. But the fact that every 3rd and 8 to 3rd and 12 was just, let's run a crossing route. There's going to be a blown coverage out here. Our guy will make a catch, and they'll get 8.5 yards when they needed 8 yards here, and just continue to convert at that time. And they did it even up to the last drive of the game. So Seattle was just running the clock out. And the Rams did get the football back, dump off over the middle, and then a ball out of bounds to Puka Nacua, a ball inbounds to Puka Nacua that ran the clock out to end the game. But just so satisfying to watch that Kubiak offense absolutely stay aggressive the entire way. And when you look at the offenses, hey, Shaheed, get involved. Well, early in the game, he catches that 52-yarder. Don't see him again because Jackson Smith-Njigba was killing everybody out there, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he was, but the secondary of the Rams, I mean, my goodness. Emmanuel Forbes Jr., Kobe Durant, and Darius Williams, good luck with that, Rams. Darius Williams, there's a reason why he was a healthy scratch a lot this year. How you put him in that game, in that moment, is beyond me there. Putting him one-on-one on Rashid early, and he gets beat for a 51-yard bomb there, which set up the first score. I mean, that secondary all game looked absolutely lost. And I don't know how to, quite honestly, I don't know how they got through to that point with that secondary, because they couldn't stop a nosebleed yesterday.
Couldn't do anything here. And then it came down late in that game where you had the Rams on a long drive, very methodical. There was a really big drop by the tight end on that play on a 3rd and 1, which turned into a 4th and 1 with Matthew Stafford actually converted with his legs, because he probably scores. I don't know if he scores a touchdown, but again, you're inside and maybe it's a little bit more time left on the clock, where you say, if you're the Rams, 4th and 4 with 6.5 minutes to go, maybe we kick the field goal because we'll get it back. If we get a stop, then we just need a field goal. But again, when you're talking about taking the points versus not and having faith in your defense, the Rams didn't have faith in their defense on a 3rd and 4. The Rams threw the football. And by the way, it looked like Matthew Stafford maybe had a pathway to run that football in, but decided to throw it. And then the 4th down was everybody was covered. They gave you the running lanes once again, rushed 2 pass rushers, and you just threw it to the back of the end zone, which was almost an interception at this point, and effectively ended the game because you couldn't get back off the field with enough time or save your timeouts after that, which included, again, Joe, 3rd and long conversions on that final drive, and Kenneth Walker out of the backfield. You feel bad for the Rams in a way, but then they had their chances. They had their opportunities. And also, Joe, can we talk about just catching a punt and not giving free touchdowns to the other team?
Yeah. I mean, luckily for them, that evened out, because how you're taunting a team on 4th and 15 is beyond me. But, and they too scored one play later. So that kind of evened itself out. But the amount of missed tackles also, Donnie, cannot go unnoticed with the Rams. It was just, it was ugly. Shula is supposed to be this big, hot defensive coordinator, and his defense got absolutely trucked by that offense. If you'd have told me that Seattle had, over 30 points and didn't rush for 100 yards, I'd have laughed at you, Donnie, and been like, what are you talking about? You want Matt Stafford throw 3 intercepts? No. They torched this defense of the Rams yesterday, and they did it via Sam Darnold's arm, which I don't know anybody who saw that coming.
No, and the question again all week for me is, if Sam Darnold never had any injuries coming into this game, I said I would have taken the Seattle Seahawks. I would have thought they won by a touchdown. But I just wasn't comfortable taking Sam Darnold in the spot if he wasn't going to be comfortable playing in the pocket. They let him throw 36 times. He looked fine. He even was putting the wraps on. So now we're still going to be worried about him being limited in practices over the next 2 weeks through the Super Bowl and doing the same charade again. But that guy's a gamer. He threw 36 times, and you knew it couldn't be one of those, hey, I'll throw for 135 yards and we'll beat the Rams. You needed him on his A game. He was, and so was Clint Kubiak. 700-plus passing yards in this game between the two quarterbacks, 6 total touchdowns, no interceptions, man. They were slinging it on the biggest stage out there. And by the way, Sam Darnold got an extra $3 million this year with all these incentives that are clicking, and they're just getting started in the Super Bowl. Tom Vecchio is going to join us next with the Super Bowl preview and what happened yesterday on the gridiron. Coming up next.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
But I remember being 16 in high school, being in my school uniform, long pants and a tie, and I deadlifted 200 kgs, so that's 440 pounds. So so that was I actually have a video of it, so it might get leaked somewhere. Someone might be able to find that one.
We might need to get that one to B-roll the show with.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Marshall's a tough environment, though. Marshall's that sneaky road trip, in my opinion, and this has been like a decade long that Marshall's been fire at home and terrible on the road. That's a dangerous road game, but if you look at, there's no return game with Kent State. There's no return game with Akron. Maybe when they go to UMass with Frank Martin being such a good coach, he could really take teams out of their rhythm. But I think there's a case that they could be undefeated in the regular season.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
57% chance of winning a PGA Tour major. Would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scotty Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scotty's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week in the majors, the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scotty Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
The Super Bowl is set, and we got 2 weeks to prepare for it. I'm Donnie Wrightside along with Joe Ranieri. Let's bring in our friend Tom Vecchio this morning to see what happened yesterday, and also with a couple eyeballs here on the Super Bowl itself. Tom, cold from where you're at, but the action's heating up right here on the early line.
It certainly is. We had 2 good games yesterday, a little bit out of hand when it got to the Seahawks. Scoring was far more than I anticipated in that. But, I'm going to say 2 teams that deserve to be here. A lot of people want to talk about the Pats and how they didn't have the toughest schedule to get here, but they took care of that schedule. And, here they are representing the AFC.
And they are representing the AFC. Tom, we'll start there. Yesterday, 10-7 victory for the New England Patriots. The AFC champions headed back to the Super Bowl here. But the questions are always going to come up with this game of how the Denver Broncos played this early in the game. Stidham with the early touchdown pass to Cortland Sutton. It's a 7-0 game. You're in full control. You're driving the length of the field very methodically. You find yourself in a 4th and 1 in the red zone. You can kick the field goal, go up double digits. You can go for it, try to extend that game at that point. There's always going to be second guessers, Tom. What did you think of the decision for Peyton to not kick the field goal in the first half?
I would have taken the points. And, this is... It's all circumstantial, right? And if they had Bo Nix, I would have said go for it. Absolutely go for it. But the fact that you're dealing with Stidham, the fact that, you're at home, like you're already up against it, like, so to speak, because of the backup quarterback, because things aren't as ideal as you would want them to be, I would say take as many points as possible. And I know you got a missed field goal here. They could have had another field goal there. There were points left on the board by the Broncos. And ultimately, they didn't do what needed to be done. Like they could have won this game 13-10.
Yeah.
It's not even so much that they went for it, Tom. It's like, if you can't get 1 yard rushing the ball at home, the fact that you decided to throw the ball with a guy that hadn't thrown a pass or started a game in 2 years is just, it's head scratch. It's like you're getting too cute at the worst time. But moving forward, I mean, that's the Patriots, and I get, Mother Nature and Old Man Winter playing a role here the last couple of weeks, but they barely have 450 yards in their last 2 postseason games. This line could explode before we get to the game against Seattle.
Yeah, the way it's tough to phrase it like the Pats won in spite of Drake May, but he looked terrible yesterday. Like, that's just what it comes down to. This is the 3rd game in a row they took 5 sacks. This is the 3rd game in a row that he's under 60% completion percentage. He was also under 50% yesterday. Throwing for 86 yards is just unacceptable for an NFL quarterback in a must-win situation. So he looked terrible. They still won the game. Both things are true. The offensive line continues to be an issue. The sacks continue to be an issue. And now he's going up against literally a historic defense. If you look at Seattle's DVOA for the entire year, they were top 12 ever, not just top 12 this year, top 12 over the last decade, top 12 DVOA ever. So Drake May and the offense needs to get things figured out.
They certainly do, because you take a look at the Seahawks and the Rams game, 31-27. It looked like early on the Seahawks might be in a runaway against the Rams, and the Rams take the lead, and then you have a couple blown coverages late in the second quarter, which gave that extra touchdown to the Rams to take into the lead, the 17-13 game. And this game was fantastic all the way up to the end, where the Los Angeles Rams had a chance to kick a field goal, which would have covered the spread and helped out your boy DRS, but they decided to go for it, didn't get it, and they only saw the football back with 2 plays left, and Puka Nacua ended up being down and in bounds. What did you see from that Rams game? Because both quarterbacks, they were really good, Tom.
Yeah, I was impressed by Sam Darnold. That's what it comes down to first and foremost. The oblique storyline that we've been dealing with now for like 2 weeks at this point kept popping back up. I had Sam Darnold under 29.5 attempts, and I just didn't think he was going to have to sling it that much. Now, obviously, some of this is a little bit of game script, but it's not just as if he was out there throwing the ball randomly for no reason. He was really efficient. He was awesome. 300-plus yards, the touchdowns, doing so against a good Rams defense. Not like he did this against the Bears defense, which we know is terrible, but he did this against a good defense. So I was impressed by Sam Darnold. He's only going to be healthier 2 weeks from now, and that's only going to benefit Seattle. I like the fact that they got Ken Walker involved early, then they activated the passing game. They had multiple options in the passing game. It was all good when it's all said and done. Now, the defense, which I just said was amazing, really wasn't, but also some of that was just the nature of the game script back and forth, and Stafford having so many options on offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Drake May doesn't have Puka Nacua or Devontae Adams to throw to, so I'm not sure that we're going to compare. I mean, let's face it, the Rams were one of the highest-rated teams all year long, and that offense showed you exactly why. How surprised were you on how inept, though, that defense of the Rams were? Because they started out the season just as good as Seattle's defense, but my goodness, did they get shredded in the second half of the year?
Yeah, I would say, the Carolina game in round 1 for them was really like the telling point or the tipping points. Like, they look good, but then they're also looking bad, and they looked really bad against Carolina at a certain point. And offense, I think everyone would agree, is not good. like a team in Carolina that backed themselves into the playoffs, right? They lost that game against Tampa, then they still made it because the Falcons won. So when you're looking bad against the Panthers, and then you're kind of looking bad against the Bears, and the Bears did have a good defense. They did have a good offense to put up some points, but there are some very, very concerning signs with the Rams. And listen, they can't just run it back next year. They can run it back in theory with the offense, but the defense, I still think, is the thing that's going to be holding them back.
Yeah, this looks like that was their shot. But also, we probably said for most of the year, the NFC's two best teams were the Rams and the Seattle Seahawks, and the Seahawks had home field advantage, and that's what won out in the end. And they're moving on to the Super Bowl, which then leads us to February 8th, 6:30 p.m. That is the Super Bowl. Seattle's going to take on New England in Santa Clara, Tom. Across the board, we're looking at 4.5-point numbers and also 46.5 as the total here. Any thoughts on the early numbers for Super Bowl Sunday?
Yeah, to Joe's point, I think you were implying that Seattle, that number could jump up to 5.5, if not 6, depending on, where we get some money and where that moves. I will say, just from a very early glance at props, looking at Drake May rushing props really does entice me because of the offensive line issues, because of the sacks that he's been taking, and because of the pressure we know that Seattle can bring. So seeing 5.5 or 6.5 attempts on him, I think is really interesting. Seeing his prop in the mid-30s for rushing yards, he's going to get out and have to move if he's under pressure from Seattle. That's what it comes down to.
Oh, no doubt about that here. And also, most of the public probably just watching those two games yesterday, probably easy to fill in on Seattle at this point. They're going to run away with it, but you got 2 weeks to digest all the information. Tons of props will come out. They're going to play probably in very good conditions, unlike we saw yesterday in New England. And also, by the way, New England's had a lot of struggles with some of these rainy, snowy type games here. That's Tom Vecchio. We'll talk to him shortly here. Thanks for joining us, Tom. We'll be right back after this short break.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
But I remember being 16 in high school, being in my school uniform, long pants and a tie, and I deadlifted 200 kgs, so that's 440 pounds. So so that was I actually have a video of it, so it might get leaked somewhere. Someone might be able to find that one.
We might need to get that one to B-roll the show in.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Marshall's a tough environment, though. Marshall's that sneaky road trip, in my opinion, and this has been like a decade long that Marshall's been fire at home and terrible on the road. That's a dangerous road game, but if you look at, there's no return game with Kent State. There's no return game with Akron. Maybe when they go to UMass with Frank Martin being such a good coach, he could really take teams out of their rhythm. But I think there's a case that they could be undefeated in the regular season.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
57% chance of winning a PGA Tour major. Would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scotty Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scotty's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week in the majors, the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scotty Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
College basketball just a few days away from February and then the month of March, and the madness begins to the Final Four in early April. And by the time we get to early April, Joe, we're already be talking about Major League Baseball season. It goes fast. We understand. There's one more football game left to be played in the season. It is the Super Bowl. That's in 2 weeks. But college basketball each and every night's delivering the goods, which included over this weekend here. How about Rick Pitino? 900 wins as he beat his son Richard Pitino and Xavier 88-83. the Don of all Dons, continues to rack up statistics.
Yeah, and boy, oh boy, by the hair on his chinny chin too, because that game was that was a sweat right until the end when they were able to pull it out. But I guess it's fitting, right? Dad gets the 900th win against Junior, and such is life. But a good game. I think the Johnnies have finally figured it out here and could very well be making a run in the Big East.
Rick Pitino sent out a tweet there. 900 is nice, but this is much more special. It's with his grandchildren there. You know, none of the grandchildren repping a little St. John's. I mean, he's got, come on now. Like, I know your dad coaches him, but grandpa's out there. Somebody's got to root for grandpa, no?
I mean, that's all right. I mean, how do you feel? The poor Junior there is like, yeah, Dad just won. Now he took all my kids who are wearing Xavier shirts, and now he's doing the picture tour with them. Not good there, but kudos to one of the best ever to coach.
You know, it's like father-son stuff like that. You always want your son to succeed and do bigger things than you did. I mean, of course, he's probably not going to do bigger things than Rick Pitino did, one of the best of all time. But how's the competitive juices go, Joe? Like, do you beat your son and feel good about it? Do you beat him, be like, that's just the business? Because it is personal. Like, it really is personal.
Yeah, it's always personal. You'll never admit it, Donnie. You'll never admit it publicly, but deep down inside, he's got to be going, you got to be kidding me. So this is the reason why I probably shouldn't have left New Mexico. I would never have had to worry about seeing him, but now I'm at Xavier, and yep, sorry, 900. Yep. You could not have drawn it up any better, by the way.
Certainly couldn't have here. How about on Saturday, Purdue, top 5 team in the country, taking on close to a top 10 team in Illinois, 88-82. The 11th seeded Illini knock off Purdue in their own building to improve to 8-1 in the Big Ten.
One of the hardest places to play in all of college basketball, Donnie, is Mackey Arena there. But it wasn't a great spot for Purdue. Don't forget, they just spent the last 10 days out west. They played 4 games in 10 days. On the West Coast. Then they had to come home, and of all teams they got to face, it's, one of the best shooting teams, one of the more physical teams in Illinois, and it was a great back and forth. But that's a huge win for Illinois to go into Mackey and get it done like that.
Let's take a look tonight. Louisville and Duke, 7 o'clock start in the ACC Cameron Indoor Stadium. 7.5 are across the board as the favorite. 157.5 as the total. One of the interesting things about this game for Louisville, one of the best, or should I say, good 3-point shooting team, but the volume from 3-point range, the best in the country. Close to 50% of their total shots come from 3-point range. You know who's 311th at chasing off the line? It's Duke. This could be a match made in heaven for Louisville, who also, Joe, getting some of that firepower back in their lineup last game to help out.
Yeah, Miguel Brown Jr. having him back is huge. This kid is an absolute stud, and they've had to win without him. The key to this game, Donnie, is can Louisville make 11 or more threes? If they do in this game, they're 24-3 when they make 11 or more threes under Pat Kelsey. They live and they die by the 3. And Duke, not exactly a great 3-point defense here. But don't forget, Louisville was crushing Duke a few weeks ago in Louisville, and Duke still figured out a way to come back and win that game.
That was one of those first 10-minute games like, oh, man, Duke just ran into a buzzsaw tonight. And you woke up like, whoa, Duke won that game easy because they handled them in the second half. We'll see what happens tonight. Yeah. Arizona on the road in elevation to take on BYU. Arizona, slight favorite here, between 2.5 and 1.5, depending where you're shopping at. 165.5 total. Arizona, number 4 in the country on offense in adjusted efficiency. Number 3 on defense in adjusted efficiency here. Something got to give tonight. This is a coin flip, Joe. What do we got?
It's hysterical because both these teams are very similar in ways where they want to do the same thing. They want to be up-tempo and push pace on offense. Defensively, they want to slow the other team down to an absolute crawl. They both want to get rebounds. Something has got to give, but quite honestly, BYU needs this game because outside of a win against Villanova, who have they beaten here? That's the problem right now.
Should be a good one. Both play great defense. Both have good offenses. Neither team fouls here. Should be a pretty clean game. We'll see who goes down, Arizona or BYU tonight. We'll be back after this short break. More interesting topics for hour number 2.